Hey everyone, welcome to the monthly finance current affair compilation video. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss about all the finance current affairs that came in December 2025 and that too in a MCQ based format, right? So let's get the discussion started guys. Almost close to 60 to 70 MCQs we will be solving in this particular session. So let's start the discussion. Which bank have been classified under the India's domestic systematically important banks framework? DSIB framework. So this one we have discussed in the finance current affairs session कि RBI ने list निकाली है related to the domestic systematically important banks and the domestic systematically important bank continues to be State Bank of India, HDFC and ICICI Bank. Okay, so request for participation from all of you. Right, हम यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन बेस्ड मैनर में आपके फाइनेंस करंट अफेयर्स डिस्कस करने वाले हैं. तो डेफिनेटली मुझे कमेंट सेक्शन में ज़रूर बताइएगा कि आपको क्या लगता है व्हाट विल बी द करेक्ट आंसर आफ्टर बिफोर ईच क्वेश्चन, राइट. सो नेक्स्ट वन इज व्हाट इज द एडिशनल CET1 रिक्वायरमेंट नाउ बिकॉज यू आर डोमेस्टिकली सिस्टमैटिकली इंपॉर्टेंट बैंक. एडिशनल CET1 capital requirement will apply on you. So what is the prescribed CET1 capital for HDFC Bank under the DSIB framework? It's a percentage always related to the RWA, risk weighted assets. What is the prescribed CET1 capital for the HDFC Bank? So SBI, HDFC, ICICI तीन डोमेस्टिक सिस्टमैटिकली इंपॉर्टेंट बैंक है हमारे पास. सही है. डोमेस्टिक सिस्टमैटिकली इंपॉर्टेंट का मतलब कि अगर इनको कुछ भी होता है तो सबको बहुत कुछ हो सकता है, राइट. वी हैव सीन इन 2008 लेमन ब्रदर क्राइसिस, उसकी वजह से पूरे वर्ल्ड में क्राइसिस आ गई थी, राइट, एक फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस. सो दैट्स वाई आफ्टर दैट हम यहाँ पे क्लासिफिकेशन करने लग गए हैं रिगार्डिंग द डोमेस्टिकली सिस्टमैटिकली इंपॉर्टेंट बैंक्स. वाई? बिकॉज दीज बैंक्स आर टू बिग टू फेल. इन केस ऑफ एनी रिस्क ऑन दीज बैंक्स देयर कैन बी अ रिस्क इन दी इंटायर कंट्री, और ये सिर्फ कंट्री तक लिमिटेड नहीं रहती है. वाई? बिकॉज ऑफ द इंटरकनेक्टेडनेस ऑफ द banking system in the whole world. Here the correct choice will be option B, 0.4% of the risk weighted assets. 0.4% of the risk weighted assets, right? So in news हमने discuss करी थी आपके December month में. The National Strategy for Financial Inclusion 2025 to 2030 was also approved through a mechanism before being officially approved by the RBI, before being officially launched by the RBI. Which body has approved the NSFI 2030 before its release? And guys, here the correct answer will be option B, Financial Stability and Development Council Subcommittee. So it is first approved by this body before launching, before the final launch by Reserve Bank of India, right? Acha, tell me which statement is or are correct. Private sector bank growth remained lower than that of the public sector bank growth as per the BSR 1. In September 2025, BSR 1 and 2 were released. Second statement, private sector bank growth remained higher than the public sector bank since September 2024 as per the BSR 2 report. Which statement is or are correct here? So guys, here both the statements first and second are correct, right? Both the statements are correct here. Private sector bank growth lower थी as compared to public sector growth as compared if we talk about the BSR 1 data, और अगर BSR 2 data की बात करें तो private sectors are outperforming, right? Next one, the new NSFI framework provides a structured vision for improving access, usage and quality of financial services across India. To ensure clarity, actionability, the framework group its goals into set of strategic pillars or theme, right? So इस framework के अंदर काफ़ी सारे groups हैं जो strategic pillars बोलते हैं हम इसको, right? We call it as strategic pillars. These pillars reflect the broader long-term priorities of India's financial inclusion roadmap. What is the name given to the 5 strategic objectives under the NSFI 2025 to 2030? Now this can be important for your examination. ये 5 strategic pillars का objective क्या है? What is the name given to the 5 strategic objectives क्या नेम गिवन है इन 5 स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को? सो द नेम विच इज गिवन इज पंच ज्योति. ऑप्शन बी हियर इज द करेक्ट आंसर, राइट? नेक्स्ट वन, large national strategies such as NSFI require expert consultation and technical validation. Such work is typically conducted by the specialized groups that focus on financial inclusion literacy across India. These groups assist in designing, drafting and coordinating the discussions with various stakeholders before the strategy is finalized, under whose guidelines was the NSFI 2030 was framed. Technical Group on Financial Education, Financial Inclusion Steering Panel. Option C, Technical Group on Financial Inclusion and Financial Literacy. Option D, National Mission on Inclusive Finance. Option E, Standing Committee on Digital Financial Inclusion. Which will be the correct choice here? Option C is the correct one. Technical Group on Financial Inclusion and Financial Literacy. Right? Option C is the correct one. Next one. Capital regulations require banks to hold various buffers aimed at protecting the financial system during the period of stress. One such requirement ensures that the institution build capital in normal times so that the losses can be absorbed in the downturns, right? So this component also influences the dividend distribution and risk-taking behavior of all the banks. Which of the following best describe this regulatory requirement? So banks को buffer रखना पड़ता है काफी सारा. And we call it as option C, capital conservation buffer, right? Capital conservation buffer. अच्छा, एक counter cyclical capital buffer भी होता है जो कि अभी 0% है as of now. Tell me this one, what was the year-on-year credit growth reported in September 2025 as per the BSR1? As per the BSR1. So BSR1 is related to the credit and BSR2 is related to your deposit part. BSR1 credit के लिए reported होती है और अभी September 2025 में it was released, right? September 2025 का BRSR release हुआ था डेटा, अभी release हुआ था December के अंदर. So the correct answer here will be 10.7%, right? 10.7% was the growth in terms of credit. So बैंक ने ज़्यादा क्रेडिट दिया था as compared to the previous. Next one, during the review of external sector condition, attention is also given to the capital flows, which reflect foreign investments, loans, banking capital movement. These inflows or outflows can offset the current account pressures and influences the reserve adequacy as well. What was the recorded capital account balance for April to September 2025? This is regarding the capital account balance. We have discussed this news as well in the finance current affairs session. What was the recorded capital account balance for April to September 2025? Let me know in the comment section, what do you think is the correct choice here? And the correct choice here is option B, 8.6 billion US dollar. 8.6 billion US dollar, right? That was the data for April to September 2025. Regulator review the banks regularly capital positions to ensure compliance with the globally aligned prudential standards. One component of these standards require banks to maintain a specific percentage of additional equity above the minimum requirement. Additional equity above the minimum requirement. This helps preserve the system stability, especially in the economic conditions when the economic conditions are not good for the bank. What is the present rate at which the capital conservation buffer is maintained in India? Now I am talking about capital conservation buffer here. So we are making, as of now we do have CCB as 2.5%, right? CCB as 2.5%, and if I talk about the counter cyclical capital buffer, then that's 0% as well as of now, prescribed by the Reserve Bank of India. What was the year-on-year deposit growth? Now, if we talk about deposit, it must be BSR2 only. It must be BSR2 only, right? In September 2025. So, what was the year-on-year deposit growth in the month of September 2025? So here, what is the year-on-year deposit growth rate in September 2025? So the deposit growth rate in September 2025 is 9.9%, right? The deposits increased by 9.9% as per the BSR2 data, which we have already studied, right? 9.9%. इससे पहले वाली रिपोर्ट में हमने देखा था 11.3% था, अभी 9.9% है. So the private growth rate of the deposits were higher than that of the public sector banks, right? Acha, the movement in countries' foreign exchange reserve arises from several balance of payment components. During certain period, the trade balance, service inflow, remittances, income payment significantly influence the current account position. According to the recent assessment of April to September 2025, what was the recorded current account balance? What was the recorded current account balance? The recorded current account balance was 15.1 billion US dollars, right? 15.1 billion US dollars. Next one, central banks use different liquidity management tools to maintain stable short-term interest rates and ensure smooth functioning of the money markets. These operations may inject or absorb liquidity depending on the systemic condition. What is the primary objective of conducting such variable rate reverse operation? If we are conducting a variable rate reverse operation, VRR operations, right, VRR operations, then what is the primary reason, primary goal of conducting such an operation? That's absorption of the excess liquidity from the system. So VRR auctions are conducted for the absorption of surplus liquidity. We have already learned about VRR in the Finance Current Affairs series. Next one, which state received recently the 400 million US dollar support from a multilateral agency here? Which was the state that recently received this amount for the climate resilience, safety and sustainability? The state was Maharashtra, right? The loan was approved to Maharashtra. The digital payment infrastructure continues to evolve with new features that enhances the user convenience, operational flexibility. A recently launched mechanism enabling the designated individuals to conduct transactions on behalf of the account holders under the defined limit. Can you tell me what type of functionality was introduced under this particular feature recently related to the digital payment infrastructure? Was it related to delegation? Was it related to conditional override, proxy mandate or full delegation? It was related to full delegation. Full delegation under the new UPI circle feature. So UPI circle feature के अंदर अब full delegation authority भी embed हो चुकी है. The regulators have expressed concerns regarding the delayed access to transaction data in certain digital payment channel. To strengthen the real-time oversight and risk detection, an upgraded platform has been launched that standardizes and accelerates the reporting by the member banks. This initiative is intended to close the information gaps and enable quicker supervisory response. Can you tell me what is the name of this enhanced net banking reporting platform? So here the correct choice will be, guys, Banking Connect. Okay, Banking Connect. So NPCI Bharat Bill Payment has launched the Banking Connect platform for this one. Next one. Recent national strategies for financial inclusion emphasizes not just providing access to accounts, but ensuring the sustained usage, financial capabilities, resilience also, right? So updated framework integrates multiple stakeholders. Which approach best describe this new orientation? Which approach best describes this new orientation? So guys, this approach is option C. Option C is the right answer. We have discussed this while discussing about the highlights from the report, right? Option C is the correct one. Synergistic ecosystem approach. Option C. Next one. What is the reported real GDP growth rate for Q2 of financial year 2026? Real GDP growth rate for Q2 of financial year 2026. So guys, the real GDP growth rate is 8.2%, right? 8.2%. Next one. The public sector lenders continue to collaborate in specialized domains to enhance their ability to fund complex and large-scale projects. A recent partnership aimed to pool expertise, strengthen the appraisal capabilities and develop sector-specific framework for the long investments. Which area is targeted through this newly established Joint Center of Excellence? And it was related to your project finance. It was related to your project finance, which was signed by SBI and BOI, right? In its recent review, the IMF upgraded the India's categorization based on the observed exchange rate behavior over the period. According to the IMF, what is the India's de facto FX regime? The correct choice here will be option C is the correct one, right? Crawl-like arrangement is the correct one. So this is the IMF's reclassification for the India's FX regime. Next one. To improve the voluntary compliance in reporting overseas income and asset, tax authorities increasingly rely on the data-driven behavior. The latest phase of an initiative use technology to compare the disclosures when available information and encourages the taxpayer to rectify the mismatches proactively. What is the full form of the acronym in this particular context? So we have discussed that the income tax department is working on data driven behavioral changes, right, in the income tax related reported data, and the full form here is non-intrusive usage of data to guide and enable, right? Next one. What grade did India receive on its national accounts assessment from the International Monetary Fund? What grade did India receive on its national accounts assessment from the IMF recently? The correct choice here will be option C. It was a C grade. Okay, it was a C grade on the national accounts. Next one. What was the year-on-year increase in the housing price index in Q2 of financial year 2026? This is the house price index. And the correct choice here will be option C, 2.2%. Okay, so there was a 2.2% year-on-year change. What about the industrial output recorded in October 2025? Industrial output recorded in October 2025. The correct choice here will be option C, 0.4%. Okay, 0.4% is the correct choice. Next one. The digital payment continue to expand rapidly, supported by deepening penetration and evolving use case across the consumer segment. By what percentage did UPI transaction volume increased in November 2025 as compared to November 2024? So November 2025 ka data was released in December. That's why we are covering it in the finance current affairs, but I always say that you have to remember the data just before the month of your examination, right? Recent वाला data, financial year closure का data, या फिर कोई बहुत ही sudden spike या sudden decline आया हो तो वो वाला data. So ये वाला आपको एग्जाम के लिए याद नहीं रखना होगा 23%. ठीक है, अगर आप RBI Grade B 2026 ट्राई कर रहे हो तो सही है ना, टारगेट कर रहे हो RBI Grade B 2026 तो फिर ये वाला डेटा आपके लिए रिलेवेंट नहीं होगा. Next one. The MSMEs often face challenges in accessing the credit due to limited collateral, lack of formal financial records, uneven underwriting standards across the lenders. There was a new model to address these gaps. A new framework, a new model was there to enhance the digital footprint, verified database and algorithmic based scoring. What is the name of the newly launched framework? Name of newly launched framework. The name of the newly launched framework is here option C, credit assessment model, right? Credit assessment model is the correct choice. Next one, the regulatory restructuring in the investment banking ecosystem has led to a clearer framework for classifying intermediaries. The intent is to align the oversight with the business complexities. Under the revised structure, the merchant bankers have been recognized into district level operations. Which structure classification has now been introduced for the merchant bankers? Let me know the correct choice in the comment section. The correct choice here will be, guys, it is a two-tier classification based on the permitted activities. So all the merchant bankers will now be classified into a two-tier classification, right? Next one. What is the maximum permissible underwriting exposure allowed for a merchant banker? Maximum permissible underwriting exposure allowed for a merchant banker. The maximum permissible underwriting exposure allowed for a merchant banker is 25 times its liquid net worth, right? 25 times its liquid net worth. So whatever, sorry, 20 times, not 25 times, 20 times the liquid net worth. So whatever your liquid net worth is, you need to keep at least 20 times as the capping for the underwriting exposure, right? So this is from the SEBI overalls related to the merchant banker rules that we have discussed recently in the finance current affairs sessions of December month. Can you tell me the updated CPI inflation forecast for the financial year 2026? Updated CPI inflation forecast for financial year 2026. That is 2%. Okay, 2% is the forecast for the CPI data. Next one. What is the minimum cumulative revenue requirement? Minimum cumulative revenue requirement prescribed for category 1 merchant bank over the preceding 3 financial year. Over the preceding 3 financial years. So here the correct choice will be, guys, option D, 12.5 crore. Okay, 12.5 crore. Next one. What is the minimum cumulative revenue requirement for category 2 merchant bankers over the same 3-year period? The correct choice here will be, guys, option C, 2.5 crore. Okay, 2.5 crore. Next one. Disposal efficiency under the ombudsman system reflects institutional responsiveness and operational capability. So what is the disposal rate which was achieved during financial year 2025? Financial year 2025. The disposal rate that we achieved in financial year 2025 was 93.07%. 93.07%, right? Next one. The governance reforms emphasizes the role of responsible personnel overseeing the merchant banking operations. The designated principal officer must possess substantial market exposure to ensure prudent decision making. How many years of financial market experience is must for a principal officer under the revised norms? Again, it is from the merchant banker regulation recently released by SEBI. So the experience required is 5 years, right? 5 years is the experience required. Which organization received the in-principle approval from SEBI to register as a public INVIT recently? Public INVIT. It was option B, Rajmarg Infra Investment Trust, right? What is the latest GDP forecast for financial year 2026 as per the RBI's updated projection? As per the RBI's updated projection. The correct choice here will be option B, right? Option B, 7.3% is the correct choice. Next one. What is the minimum net worth mandated for the entities that are classified as category 1 merchant bankers? So we see that if you are in the category 1 merchant bankers, the capital requirement will be 50 crore, right? 50 crore. Acha, what about the category 2 merchant bankers? What about the category 2 merchant bankers? The category 2 merchant bankers will be 10 crore, right? So for category 1 it is 50 crore, for category 2 it is 10 crore. Next one. By what percentage did the complaints increased year on year basis under the RBI Integrated Ombudsman Scheme financial year 2025? What was the percentage increase in the complaints year on year basis in the RBI IOS 2025? It was 13.55%, right? 13.55% was the increase. Acha, what monetary policy stance RBI has signaled going forward? So going forward, they have signaled a neutral policy stance in the December month monetary policy, right? And what is the updated repo rate announced in the latest MPC review? The repo rate was 5.25%, right? 5.25% was the repo rate. Complaint distribution across the bank group highlights the difference in the service standards, customer engagement models and digital adoption. What was the complaint share of private sector bank in financial year 2025? Specifically related to the private sector banks. %37.53%, okay, 37.53%. Next one. What was the complaint share of public sector banks? So private sector banks ka complaint was 37.53 and public sector ka was 34.8. Okay. Next one. The LIC has recently entered into a strategic bank assurance partnership with a bank related to the insurance penetration, right? What is bank assurance? Intersection of banking and insurance. So insurance companies क्या करती हैं? अपने products बैंक को front बना के sell कर सकती है वहाँ पे. That is Yes Bank. Yes Bank के साथ recently partnership हुई थी. अच्छा, can you guys also tell me the full form of Swagat FI? Swagat FI. It is a platform for the participation of global investors, specifically for the low risk foreign participants, right? Low risk foreign participants. The name of the platform is Single Window Automatic and Generalized Access for Trusted Foreign Investors, right? Next one. Which institution recognized UPI for its contribution recently? Which institution recognized UPI for its contribution recently? So it was the International Monetary Fund, which acknowledged the importance of UPI recently. What approximately share of global real-time payment transactions does UPI account for? Approximate share of the global real-time payments transaction जो UPI से आ रहा है. That is option B, 49%. Okay, 49% का शेयर कहाँ से आ रहा है? UPI से आ रहा है. Next one. How many executive directors were recommended under the governance reforms related to the market infrastructure institution for the strengthening of the board composition and the professional oversight? Market infrastructure institutions यानी कि depositories, stock exchanges, clearing corporations. इनमें how many executive directors were recommended recently? Two were recommended, right? Two were recommended. Next one, to support the merchant onboarding in the smaller centers, the authority established a funding mechanism to subsidize deployment of digital acceptance infrastructure. This is especially critical in the regions where commercial viability remains low. What fund facilitates POS infrastructure deployment in Tier 3 to Tier 6 in the northeastern states? So, the correct answer here is option B, Payment Infrastructure Development Fund, right? Payment Infrastructure Development Fund. Acha, who has been permitted to participate in the rupee IRD interest rate derivative transactions recently? Interest rate derivative transactions recently. The correct choice here will be, guys, option C, residents and non-residents will now be permitted to participate in the interest rate derivative transactions, right? This was a new update. And can you also tell me the prescribed PVBP cap on the outstanding interest rate derivative positions specifically for the non-residents? Specifically for the non-residents. The correct choice here will be option E, 1000 crore. Okay, 1000 crore is the correct choice. So we have done this particular circular news in the finance current affairs session. Next one. The idle funds left across the dormant financial instruments have prompted a coordinated national initiative aimed at helping the citizens reclaim the asset. What is the name of this nationwide campaign? The name of the nationwide campaign is Your Money, Your Right, right? Your Money, Your Right. Next one. Which purpose alone allows the non-resident to initiate a fresh IRD interest rate derivative position after the overall cap is reached? Let's suppose you have reached the overall cap, you are a non-resident. Now what purpose alone can allow you to initiate a fresh position even after capping the, even after reaching the overall cap? So that is hedging purpose, right? For hedging purpose it is permitted and this is important for your examination. Next one. Where must all the interest rate derivative transactions be reported for the purpose of transparency in the over-the-counter interest rate derivative transactions? So they must be reported in the Clearing Corporation of India Limited, right? CCIL. CCIL में आपको report करने पड़ेंगे. Can you also tell me what is the 3A framework underpinning the campaign of the Unclaimed Assets Initiative of Government? 3A framework. What is this 3A framework? The 3A framework is awareness, accessibility and action, right? Next is to counter the increasing payment fraud risk. A specialized intelligence infrastructure is being established through collaboration. This initiative focuses on predictive analytics and centralized data exchange. Which bank received the approval to set up the digital payment fraud detection platform recently? Banks that have received the approval to set up a digital payment fraud detection platform, and this can be important for your examination also. The correct choice here will be option B, Bank of Baroda and State Bank of India, right? Next one. The proposed fraud detection platform is structured as a Section 8 company and not for profit organization होती है तो हम उसको Section 8 company बोलते हैं Companies Act 2013 में. Can you tell me the proposed name of this entity? Proposed name of this entity. The proposed name of this entity is option B, Indian Digital Payment Intelligence Corporation, right? Indian Digital Payment Intelligence Corporation. Next one. What is the maximum percentage of the total assets that may be invested in the government securities? Maximum percentage of the total assets that may be invested in government securities. The maximum portion here is 65%, okay, 65%. Next one is, what is the upper limit of the government securities portfolio that may be invested in dedicated government securities mutual fund? So the limit is 5%, right? 5% is the limit. What is the maximum allocation allowed for debt instrument, including the corporate bonds and the infrastructure bonds here? So there are so many limits which are being imposed, and here it is 45%. We have covered this in the finance current affairs session. Which exchange was recently granted in principle approval to launch the mutual fund platform? So recently an exchange got an in principle approval to launch the mutual fund platform. In the platform was NCDEX. Okay, NCDEX. Now this is important. Next one. The bank which recently got the permission to acquire 9.5% stake in the IndusInd Bank. The bank was HDFC Bank, right? The HDFC Bank was permitted to acquire the 9.5% of the IndusInd Bank. Next one. Equity exposure offer the growth potential in the pension portfolios with allocations restricted to specified indices. What is the maximum permitted allocations to equities and related investments here? And the related investments here. The correct choice here will be option C, 25%. Okay, 25% is the correct choice. Can you also tell me the revised threshold prescribed by SEBI for the entities under the high value debt listed entity category? Now this can be very, very important for your examination. Super duper important for your examination. The correct choice here will be 5,000 crore. Okay, option E, 5,000 crore is the correct choice. Next one. According to the RBI data, what is the total NRI deposit inflows into the Indian banks during April to October 2026? April to October 2026. It was 8.3 billion US dollar. Okay, 8.3 billion US dollar. So next one, NRI deposit inflows are influenced by global interest rates, currency expectation and scheme specific features. A sharp decline in one such category can significantly affect the overall inflows. The moderation in the total NRI deposit inflows during the April to October was primarily due to the sharp fall in which category of the deposits? NRE account, NRO, RFC, FCNRB or resident foreign currency deposit. It was FCNRB account. It was FCNRB account. So this was a concept related question that we did, right? Two questions were related to concept. Next one, SEBI has introduced reform in the mutual fund ecosystem to enhance transparency, comparability and cost efficiency. The new structure introduced by SEBI for mutual funds relate primarily to which aspect? This was regarding the expense cost structure, right? Expense cost structure. Now guys, I'll be including some of the questions for your homework purpose as well, which you will find in this PPT. So you have to download this particular PPT, right? You can get this PPT on the Oliveboard's Telegram channel as well as the Oliveboard application. Plus, if you want to get in touch with me regarding any queries, you can reach out to me. My Telegram ID is CA Prateek Finance. If you type CA Prateek Finance on Telegram, definitely you will get my group link. Okay. So thank you so much guys. Bye bye. Take care. See you soon. And guys, a very happy new year to all of you. And here is an offer from the Oliveboard. You can get flat 60% off if you are enrolling in any course. The offer ends on 2nd of January. The code is HNY. And if you are preparing for the RBI Grade B course, then you can definitely check out our course as well. Thank you so much. See you soon in some other video.